UFC 263 Adesanya vs Vettori 2 takes place in only a matter of hours, so I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my last minute detailed prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, and what an amazing card this is. I'm not just going to be predicting winners, I'm not just going to be picking winners based on resumes or former opponents or style matchups. I'm trying to predict exactly how every single fight on the card is going to go, start to finish, what the finishing move is going to be, what the scorecards are going to be. Let's start with the early prelim opener of Carlos Felipe versus Jake Collier. I'm going to go with Carlos Felipe by decision here. I don't see him finishing Jake Collier. Collier showed great toughness against Gianvillante. I believe I'm going to go with a 30-26 unanimous decision for Carlos Felipe. I do believe he'll get the better of Jake Collier. Actually, I will go 30-26. I believe there's going to be a 10-8 round in the third for Carlos Felipe because I think he's going to put such a pace on Jake Collier throughout this fight. Now, it might be an entertaining first round where both guys land some decent shots. Then Carlos Felipe is going to start doing a little bit better in the second round and starting to establish a little bit more dominance, but not going to get a 10-8 in the second round, but still be landing quite well. Then in the third round, I believe Carlos Felipe is going to get the 10-8 round and really start ripping to the body of Jake Collier, slowing him down, and I think Collier's barely going to survive to hear the final bell, and Carlos Felipe will go down with a 30-26 unanimous decision win over Jake Collier. I think his hands are going to be too good, and I like Carlos Felipe's boxing. I think he's going to be ripping to the body really badly against Jake Collier, who, let's just say, doesn't really have the most fortified torso area. Well, it's fortified, but not with, like, solid object. You know what I mean? Like, it's fortified by... he's morbidly obese. Same with Carlos Felipe. Don't get me wrong. Same with Carlos Felipe. But it works for Carlos Felipe. He uses his high cholesterol and obesity to his advantage. 30-26 Carlos Felipe moving on up the card. Ziam versus Luigi Vendramini. I'm actually going to go with Luigi Vendramini by KO in the first round here. I think he's so explosive early in fights. And I believe he's going to catch Ziam on the feet. I think he's got the option to take this to the ground. But that option will only be in the mind of Ziam, worrying about Luigi Vendramini wanting to take him to the ground. I do believe that Luigi's going to catch him with a clean shot in round one and finish the job with a TKO against the cage at I'll say the midway point of round one. Luigi Vendramini's going to get a clean combination punch finish against Ziam. I think he's just too explosive early and he's going to have a massive speed difference against Ziam in that opening round. And I think he'll use that to his advantage with his power in his back pocket and finish Ziam with a combination punches in the first round. Catches him with a right hand, finishes him off with hooks against the cage. And Ziam just sort of shells up in a ball against the cage and gets finished. Moving on up the card, Chase Hooper versus Steven Peterson. I'm going to go with a second round submission for Chase Hooper. I think he's going to get a second round submission, and I'm going to go with a rear naked choke against Steven Peterson. I think this is going to be an extremely, extremely chaotic fight in the first round for both of these men. Chase Hooper's going to take some big shots. He's going to try and land some big shots back. He might get a takedown on Steven Peterson, but Peterson will be able to defend and work his way back to his feet, but still Hooper will have gotten a takedown and maybe have a little bit of top control and a little bit of damage done with some elbows and some total strikes towards the end of the first round. I think Peterson will be winning the stand-up department of the first round. Hooper will get him down at the end of the first round in a bit of a wild exchange where he shoots and just ends up on top, landing some total strikes. I think the first round will still go to Steven Peterson because I think he will land some good shots on Chase Hooper. But in the second round, after a bit of a chaotic first, Hooper's going to be the fresher guy. Of course, Steven Peterson missed weight, so that's going to be a factor. Chase Hooper, I believe, is going to have more in the tank in the second round after a wild first. Get down Steven Peterson again, and this time Peterson's going to be a little bit too lazy as he works his way back up to his feet, which he wasn't in the first round, and I think he's going to give up his back to Chase Hooper, and you just can't do that with a guy the shape of Chase Hooper. I think he will get the rear naked choke in round two against Steven Peterson. Moving on up the card, Matt Frevola versus Terrance McKinney. I like Terrance McKinney. I don't think he's going to beat Matt Frevola, only because Matt Frevola, although being KO'd once before in his career, he has got a solid chin. And this one's a little bit different because this one just got added to the card and I didn't do a prediction for this before. But I'm going to go with Matt Frevola here just to win the fight, and I think he will get the job done. I'll say by a crazy first round again, because Terrance McKinney only has crazy first rounds, and he's got a bunch of first round finishes. I think he's going to look for that first round finish against Matt Frevola, but I think Matt Frevola's going to be game enough to go there with him if he does want to get real scrappy in that first round. Don't get me wrong, Terrance McKinney's got some good wins in his career. I just think on the terms that he's accepted this fight on short notice, extremely short notice, he's going to be a little bit outsized by Matt Frevola as well. I think he goes out there, has a bit of a great start to the first round, then gets taken down at the end of the first round, and I think Matt Frevola's going to win this one. I'll say 30-27, Matt Frevola. McKinney has a good first 2 minutes where he's maybe landing a couple of good shots, but Frevola's going to grind him out to a decision using some of his takedowns and just not get caught up with the brawl of Terrance McKinney. I think he will scrap a little bit just to let Terrance McKinney know that he's not scared, or just to hold his ground a little bit and not be backed up the entire time and be reactionary. I think Frevola's going to hold his ground a little bit, and then the next time McKinney goes in for an exchange around the midway point of the first round, Frevola's going to get him to the ground with a double leg, and he's just going to take him down throughout the fight as it goes on and just have more cardio to do so. I'm going to go 30-27 Matt Frevola. Moving on up the card, Pannie Kianzad versus Alexis Davis. Do I really care? No. But Pannie Kianzad is going to win a decision. I'll say 29-28. Maybe split. I'll go split decision. Why not? It's women's divisions. I'll say split decision. I'll call a split decision here for Pannie Kianzad. I think both girls are going to do okay. I think Kianzad's going to land way more significant strikes, but Alexis Davis is going to have some takedowns and maybe get some total strikes off as well. So it's going to be a close, debatable fight, but I think the more meaningful shots on the feet in terms of significant strikes are going to be landed by Pannie Kianzad every single round. I'll see a 30-27 scorecard for Kianzad, one random 29-28 scorecard for Alexis Davis, and another 30-27 scorecard for Pannie Kianzad as well, or a 29-28 scorecard. So 2 29-28s either direction, 1 30-27 Pannie Kianzad, women's MMA. Moving on to the prelims of UFC 263. Movsar Evloev versus Hakeem Dawodu. Now, I'm going with Hakeem Dawodu here as an underdog, and I believe he will get the job done against Movsar Evloev. I think he's just going to be able to keep Evloev at range with his striking. In all honesty, I think the range is going to be a real problem. Dawodu does take a little bit of time to warm up in that first round, but then again, so does Movsar Evloev. I think both guys are going to have a decent first round, and I think that's going to be the decider of the entire fight. I think Dawodu is going to barely outstrike Evloev in that first round. Maybe stuff a couple of takedowns as well. Evloev's going to shoot for takedowns at the end of the round, and maybe he gets one at the end of the round. And it's going to be a very debatable first round of a fight where it's extremely close and both guys have landed good shots. But I think Dawodu is going to land a little bit more purely because of how he keeps range and the reach advantage that he does have, and in general the size advantage that he does have. He's going to be a little bit more imposing in the cage. He's going to control the distance, and I think he'll land around 3 or 4 more significant strikes than Movsar Evloev in round 1, securing him that round. Then he's going to win round 2, but I see Evloev pulling it back in round 3, actually. I think Evloev's going to go out there and do a real good job in round 3, maybe eventually start to get the takedowns on Dawodu in round 3 after a good round 2 from Dawodu where it looks like he's starting to run away with a decision. I think Evloev's going to really put it on the line in round 3 and hope to get a good win, or maybe even try and finish Dawodu in the 3rd round, but it's going to be a little bit too little too late. Dawodu's going to be able to survive. I do see him on his back in the 3rd round and Evloev on top landing some good shots and trying to get the finish, maybe having a couple of moments where there's some close submission attempts with the grappling, but Dawodu's going to do enough to secure the 1st and 2nd round, winning him a 29-28 unanimous decision win against Evloev. Moving on up the card, Lauren Murphy versus Joanne Calderwood. I'm going to go with Joanne Calderwood 30-27. I think she'll win this one pretty dominantly. I don't think there'll be any 10-8 rounds, but I think she will go out there and win purely because I think the knees in the clinch are going to be huge for Joanne Calderwood. Lauren Murphy has not got the best grappling in the world. Now, she has used grappling in her fights before, but it's not a dominant force that everyone has to fear in the women's flyweight division, the dreaded double leg of Lauren Murphy. Like, she does use grappling in fights, but it's not the level of which I believe it takes to get down a Joanne Calderwood and finish the job on a full camp like she's had for this one. I think Joanne Calderwood's going to go out there, clinch up Lauren Murphy when she ducks her head as she throws punches, and land a bunch of knees to the body and also also keep her at range with kicks to the head, to the legs, a couple of jabs as well. I just don't think Lauren Murphy's going to close the distance effectively to get on the inside and start winging those hooks. And I think she's going to walk into a tie clinch every single time and get blasted with knees to the body and just look a little bit mentally defeated as the fight goes on because she's taken so much damage with the knees to the body. I'm going to go Joanne Calderwood, 30-27, unanimous decision. Moving on up the card, Eryk Anders versus Darren Stewart. I'm going with Eryk Anders, and I'm going by first round KO. Straight up, I'm going first round KO, Eryk Anders. It happened in the last fight. I believe it's going to happen again. I think it's going to be a great scrap as the first fight was. Anders is just a little bit too big for Darren Stewart, especially in the light heavyweight division. And we've seen he has the power advantage. And we've seen he kind of has the technical striking advantage as well. Listen, I picked Darren Stewart the first time this fight was made. Eryk Anders proved me wrong. Sorry. I think he's going to go out there and get a KO in the first round, repeating the first fight again. Of course, Darren Stewart basically got TKO'd 3 months ago. I know it was overturned to a no contest, but he took the damage necessary to have a TKO loss. And I think Eryk Anders is going to finish him in exactly the same position, except he won't throw the knee. He will throw punches from that position instead and finish Darren Stewart in that way, face down against the cage with like shots with the backside taken, not throwing knees, just hooking one arm and pounding shots with the other one. Anders gets the job done after dropping Stewart early and finishing with ground and pound against the cage. Moving on up the card, Drew Dober versus Brad Riddell. War. Absolute war is what I predict for this one. I think this is going to be the fight of the night. I think Drew Dober's going to have a great first round. I think he's going to land a lot of shots to the head of Brad Riddell, and people are going to be saying, man, Brad Riddell's got a real good chin on him, and I think he does. And I think Drew Dober's going to go out there, land some big hooks to the head, maybe be outlanding Brad Riddell. I'm going to try and call even the significant strikes here. I'll say 27-21. In favor of Drew Dober. Both guys landing good shots, but I think while Drew Dober is winning the first round and landing his hooks to the head every now and again when Riddell comes in, I think Riddell's going to be landing the leg kicks, the jabs to the body, the hooks to the body against the cage. He's going to mix it up a little bit more early because he's better at mixing it up than Drew Dober is, in my opinion. And I think as the fight goes on, Dober, who's been swinging for the head in the first round, looking to KO Brad Riddell in these exchanges, is going to start to slow down after winning the first. He will lose the second and third, and Brad Riddell will walk him down come the third round and really put pressure on him and gas him out a little bit in the third. Drew Dober's more of a muscle-bound guy. Brad Riddell, in my opinion, has got better cardio. I think he'll edge out the second, win the second, and then the third round is going to be basically Drew Dober praying that he's won the second and just trying to sort of survive whilst throwing back now and again against Brad Riddell. I see Brad Riddell winning this one based on cardio and endurance. Second and third round, 29-28, unanimous decision. Moving on up the card to the main card. And here's where things get interesting. Paul Craig versus Jamahal Hill. I'm going to call a first round KO for Jamahal Hill. I like Paul Craig. I like the accent. I like it very much indeed. I think it makes everything he says way cooler. But I'm going to go with Jamahal Hill getting this one done with combination punches in the first round. I just don't like the stand-up of Paul Craig. And I don't think he's going to get his first takedown and stick Jamahal Hill to the mat for the rest of the fight. I think maybe he'll get a takedown and Jamahal Hill will get back up. Or maybe he won't get a takedown and Jamahal Hill will just be fine. And there won't ever be a takedown and he'll stuff that initial takedown. Paul Craig's a bit of a chain wrestler, which does mean that maybe Jamahal Hill's going to have an advantage to try and stuff some of those early takedowns. I think he will stuff an early takedown against Paul Craig. That's going to make Paul Craig want to earn a little bit more respect with the hands before he shoots again. When he's trying to earn more respect with the hands in the middle of the first round, around the 2-minute mark, just afterwards, I think Jamahal Hill's going to land a big, straight right hand right on Paul Craig's chin, then follow him with combination punches as Craig sort of wallows backwards, as Jamahal Hill's just throwing non-stop coming forwards. Craig shoots again, doesn't get it because it's a panicked shot, and Jamahal Hill sprawls it, lands some good ground and pound. Craig sort of goes to his back to try and pull guard, and that's when Jamahal Hill finishes him off with a big ground and pound shot and lays out Paul Craig in the first round. Sweet dreams by Jamahal Hill gets this one done by first round KO. Moving on up the card, Demian Maia versus Belal Muhammad. I'm going with Belal Muhammad here. 29-28 unanimous decision. Demian Maia is going to come out there, Be a little bit patient on the feet, get a little bit outstruck. I actually think Belal Muhammad's going to be open to throwing leg kicks here. I think he'll trust his jiu-jitsu to be able to survive Demian Maia, which we've seen others be able to do recently. I think he'll go out there, chop at the legs of Demian Maia a little bit, not worrying about the takedown, land some good shots as well, just looking to invest a little bit of damage on Maia in that opening minute. Then Demian Maia's going to get him down, and I think Belal Muhammad's going to be stuck against the cage for some moments, stuck on the ground for some moments, just trying to stalemate the position for Demian Maia. The referee's going to look for more activity. Maybe they get separated. Then Maia's going to work for another takedown, get it. And I think he's going to have the back of Belal Muhammad at the end of the first round. And Belal Muhammad's going to end the round with 2-on-1 on one of Demian Maia's wrists, looking at the clock while the round runs out with Demian Maia on his back. I think he'll survive it with just a little bit of time. Then come the second and third round, you'll see the age of Demian Maia kick in and the youth of Belal Muhammad kick in as well, and just the absolute cardio pace of Belal Muhammad anyway. I think he'll go out there and really put a whooping on Demian Maia in the second and third round and start walking him down come the third, and I'm going to call I'll actually call a 29-27 for Belal Muhammad. I think he's going to 10-8 the third round against Demian Maia after Maia's gassed out, failing a couple of takedowns in round 2 and not getting what he wants from the takedown in round 1. I also believe that the judging system doesn't really favour Maia's style because he doesn't really go for damage. So I'm going to go Belal Muhammad, losing the first based on back position, taking the second closely, and then walking down Maia and beating him up quite badly in the third. 29-27, unanimous decision for Belal Muhammad. Moving on up the card, Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. I'm going to go with Leon Edwards here, of course. Nate Diaz is good, and I think he's going to try and go out there and really pressure Leon Edwards. I think immediately into the first round, you're going to realise what we're in there with. And Nate Diaz is going to lose in the third round by body kick TKO to follow up shots on the ground. I think it's going to be a really bad one. A great finish from Leon Edwards. I think in the first round, both guys are going to be a little bit patient. Edwards is going to come out and start chopping at those legs 100% to try and stop the forward momentum of Nate Diaz. He's going to be landing his jab as well. Once he starts establishing his jab and leg kick, he's going to start landing some high kicks on Nate Diaz that Diaz is going to eat, and the commentary is going to talk about how tough Diaz is. And then Leon Edwards, after finding his jab in the first round, is going to start to land the 1-2 in the second, which is going to lead to Nate Diaz looking to close the distance, find his way into the clinch to try and smother the combinations of Leon Edwards, finds his way in the clinch, but Edwards will frame off with his guard in the clinch and slice Nate Diaz open with brutal elbows in the second round in the clinch, as Nate Diaz tries to smother him while he throws combination punches. And then Leon Edwards is going to start to go to work. Once Nate Diaz is sliced open above the eye in the second round to some of the elbows of Leon Edwards, he's going to start to have much more success, going to the body with kicks, still chopping at the legs, really starting to beat up Nate Diaz. And I think Nate Diaz in the third round is going to go out there for broke, try and do some good stuff at the start of it after being beaten up a little bit in the second. And then in the third round, Leon Edwards is going to throw his 1-2, fake it a little bit as well, find that body shot underneath it, and put away Nate Diaz with his little flick jab leg body kick combo, or his straight left body kick combo. He can do it off both sides. I'll go with the left body kick to Nate Diaz's stomach and just sit him down in the center of the canvas, hunched over, and Edwards lands some follow-up shots on a shelled up Nate Diaz and gets to finish at the end of the third round by body kick TKO. Moving on up the card, Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. Chaos. Absolute chaos. I think Moreno's going to come out there and immediately start to work down Deiveson Figueiredo and start to establish his dominance in the cage. I think Moreno's going to be way more aggressive in the rematch than he was in the first fight. I think this is going to backfire. I'm going with Deiveson Figueiredo's second round finish, and I think he's going to get it done by guillotine. Now, hear me out. Deiveson Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno, both guys have a great first round, but I think Moreno is going to get rocked a couple of times and hit a lot to the body, and I think actually Figueiredo is going to chop at the legs a little bit more in this fight as well, because he realized that Moreno, with his hands, throws a lot of jabs, a lot of 1-2s as well. I think Figueiredo's going to slip to the outside, land a couple of hard leg kicks early, go to the body with some kicks early as well. I think the kicks of Figueiredo are going to be the difference early in this fight to the body, to the legs. Then Moreno's going to start to try and walk down Figueiredo a little bit and establish a bit of more dominance for him. Figueiredo's going to use this to catch Moreno on the chin, and as Moreno's coming forward this time, those shots are going to be a little bit more devastating from Figueiredo, and I think it's going to rock Moreno in the first round. He's going to survive, but once Figueiredo has him rocked, he's going to start ripping to the body. Round 2 comes around, same thing starts happening. Moreno trying to walk down Figueiredo a little bit more. Figueiredo lands a big shot over the top, rocks Moreno on the feet. Moreno starts to get a bit scrappy against the cage with Figueiredo. Figueiredo lands an elbow, lands some body shot combinations again. I think Moreno's going to get a little bit hurt to the body shots, to the concussion, to everything that's going on. He's getting a little bit swarmed against the cage in round 2 against a fresher version of Figueiredo. And I think after that, he's going to shoot a really bad panic takedown against Figueiredo. And Figueiredo's going to latch up a guillotine in the second round. In the second round, finishing Brandon Moreno. Moreno shoots a bad guillotine. Moreno shoots a bad takedown out of panic just to get himself some time and some space away from Figueiredo. And Figueiredo's going to capitalize and jump the guillotine and finish him in round 2. Moving on up the card. Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori, the main event. I don't think Adesanya's going to destroy him. I think he will finish him in the later rounds. I'm going to go late round 4 TKO for Israel Adesanya. I think Marvin Vettori will get finished, but I think he will have a really good show of himself in this fight. I think he's going to go out there and win the first round against Israel Adesanya. I think he'll go out there, land some shots on the feet, just throw things without a care, and just start throwing some stuff at Israel Adesanya, like some leg kicks. Then he's going to try and get ahead early in the first 2 minutes of the round. Then he's going to play patient towards the end of the round and make it a little bit boring. And Adesanya is going to be a little bit frustrated that Vettori's not engaging on him, and Vettori's going to be up on strikes after the first 2 minutes. Then Vettori's going to push him against the cage at some moments, stamp on the toes, knee at the thighs, punch to the body, start to try and work Adesanya against the cage. Adesanya will set himself free, but I think Vettori will sneak the first round, being smart with his movements. Then the second round comes around, Adesanya starts to land some shots to the body, Vettori starts to go for some takedowns. I think he will get some takedowns on Adesanya. I think Adesanya is going to threaten with a submission, which is going to make Vettori try and disengage from Adesanya's guard in round 2. Adesanya maybe goes for a guillotine or a triangle attempt. We've seen him go for triangles before. Maybe he starts to set up a triangle and Vettori doesn't like it, so he pulls out of the guard. Adesanya uses this to get feet on hips, push away Vettori and get back up to his feet. Vettori's okay with it though. Both guys landing some good shots. Then Vettori gets down Adesanya again. Adesanya gets right back up this time at the end of the second and starts landing some good shots on Vettori. Round 2 goes to Adesanya. Round 3 comes around. Vettori shoots some more takedowns. He gets Adesanya down. Adesanya shimmies himself back to the cage, works his way back up, lands some good knees to the body of Marvin Vettori. And then while they're at range, I think Adesanya's going to be chopping at the legs a little bit more. Now he's feeling more confident that he can stuff the takedowns and get back up against Marvin Vettori. He's going to start chopping at the legs a little bit more, go into the body with front kicks, go into the body with punches as well. This is going to start to set up his question mark kick after he goes for those front kicks to the body and the leg kicks. He's going to start switching it upstairs. Marvin Vettori's not going to like that he's doing this. Start shooting a little bit more desperately at the end of the third round, failing all of them at the end of the third round. I think he'll shoot 3 takedowns in the second half of the third, and he'll fail every single one of them. While Adesanya gets the clinch, gets the underhooks, lands some knees, throws off Vettori with the head control, lands some body shots as well, a couple of front kicks against the cage. Vettori looks gassed out at the end of the third for the body shots and from failing the takedowns. Round 4 comes around. Is he stuffing the takedowns? He's landing the good shots on Marvin Vettori. He's landing the body hooks that he was landing in the first fight as well. At the end of the 4th round, Marvin Vettori's going to get stuck with a massive hook to the body and some shots upstairs, and he's just going to be too tired to continue after failing so many takedowns. And I think after that, Adesanya's going to finish him against the cage by TKO. Little bit sloppy looking, but I think Vettori will go down to a body shot, get finished by TKO. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Israel Adesanya, round 4, body shot themed TKO. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Toodle Pippington.